remove this footage because you can't be seen as wanting to promote something. I simply dote on that god. I just feel he's just so magical. There's so much mystery, and still the fact is he's still so playful. He's just so easy for anyone to just look at him and fall in love.
That's very cool. In fact, you've been a sculptor as well. So there's a lot of creative streams.
It's about living that moment and being in those few hours where you are.
Is that one of the focal points which led you to get into media and advertising?
I got into media, I think, by chance. Maybe you'll be around with good-looking people. You don't need to try very hard to get a date. You'll get it pretty flippantly as well.
How difficult or easy was it to manage and kind of consolidate a lot of these group businesses to come to singular strategies?
Space was given to us. We really wrote our own digital book for Reliance.
What the real outcomes look like at that point in time?
Leading Fremantle for India. Literally, there were moments from frustration from headquarters saying, let it be. Let's just do just mobile and let the landline not happen because this is government. You can't shake them.
There are a lot of new technologies that are coming in, including AI.
If you're not going to be able to connect, if you're not going to lose flesh, you've not done it. And no AI in the room can give you any lose flesh. So with due respect to all the tech and all the AI, if you are not going to have HI in life, advertising will lose its sheen.
What's the next big thing that we'll see in marketing? This episode is brought to you by Super Checkout, the world's first AI-powered checkout that lets you split, combine or co-pay with friends and family in real time. Whether it's shopping, gifting or travel bookings, now everyone can chip in with ease. Check out smarter with Super Checkout. The Hustle Group Company. Let me introduce you to the Hustle Group Company. It's a lifestyle brand that's redefining streetwear through the power of fashion, self-belief and resilience. The second one being Discover Dollar, which is an AI-driven tech company that helps brands and retailers recover hidden dollars from overpayments and leakages. DocsNow's intelligent platform empowers businesses of all sizes to rapidly collect, manage, govern and collaborate on the data front, transforming your documents and making sure there's an impact on the business bottom line, all in a secure and a single environment. Hello everyone, welcome to yet another amazing episode of the Innovators and Disruptors podcast. I'm in Bombay having this conversation with a very unique and a special person, a special guest today. Today's episode is going to cover a lot of topics. We're going to talk about media, we're going to talk about branding, we're going to talk about advertising, and most importantly, we're talking about digital transformation story of India. And his name is synonymous to the digital transformation story of the country. And he has done a lot of different things. He's been an entrepreneur, he's been an investor, he's been a media veteran, advertising veteran, branding, digital transformation, and you say it and he's there. So it's going to be, these conversations are going to be revolving around boardroom insights to brushstrokes, because he has done a lot of that as well. He's very creative, and I'm so happy to welcome Dr. Kushal Sanghvi here today with me on the show. Thank you so much, sir, for coming in.
It's completely my pleasure and super happy to host you in this lovely city of Bombay, which I call Bombay all the time. I don't call Mumbai for some strange reason, because I just feel it's Bombay. It's got this whole emotion thing. Mumbai seems a little bit more different to different people, but I'm going to keep it to Bombay.
No, that's fantastic. In fact, we have cutting chai as well to give Bombay the flavor of Bombay. I mean, for me to at least soak in that while I'm here. So I'm going to sip on this while we have this conversation.
Sure, absolutely.
But you have come from South Bombay. So before I talk to you a lot more about a lot of stuff around your journey and of impact creation, of being the leader that you are today, very intriguing thought that came into my mind, right? I have friends who are residents of South Bombay, Sobo, as they would like to fondly call it.
Sure.
What is your perspective on it? You know, how different is Sobo from the rest of Bombay?
Well, I think I know for a fact that there are going to be a lot of people seeing this, but I can still tell you for a fact that I think clearly the city has grown.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, I think, continue to grow in terms of boundaries for sure. But given that we've been born up in that particular space, I think our entire conditioning or wiring has been towards South Bombay. So your closest sort of friends are all around there.
Right.
The closest places that you sort of went around eating, your girlfriends were from there. Everything was around that space.
Right.
It's a space which is close to your heart. So today, if you ask me honestly, if you want to sort of party out on a weekend, for example, and you get a call to say, hey, you know what, come to Powai, vis-a-vis BSB in South Bombay, you're going to definitely think and ponder twice whether you want to go to Powai all the way. And other option is to sort of be in a place which is comfortable for you.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. I've visited quite a few places in South Bombay, and in fact, I've enjoyed spending time there. So
Sure.
thank you so much for sharing that perspective. Now, so you've done so much over your career, right? And I'm sure you'll continue to, keep doing a lot more. When I say a lot more, I'm talking about a lot of impact creation that you've already done, and I'm sure there's a lot more coming your way as well. Or so before we get deeper into some of the impact stuff, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your upbringing. Where were you born? What were some key pivotal moments in your early days, childhood, that brought in some very interesting perspectives in terms of your behavior set, in terms of your values that are still closer to heart and that have helped you shape into a leader that you become today?
I am born and brought up from Bombay itself, Hawaii. While of course my roots are from Gujarat, sort of I'm a Gujarati by sort of in terms of where my language is concerned in terms of what I would speak often as a mother tongue at home. But I have a older sibling, sister, and for me, I think the memories that I always have and what I get told by in my growing years, because I think on my paternal side I'm the only child,
Hmm.
only son. And I think for some time, I think for a while, I think my mom and dad wasn't too sure that they wanted to have a second child.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it was just pure coincidence or call it luck or whatever as well that I just came around. So it wasn't something which was really sort of superbly sort of planned. But though when I do ask sometimes my mom or my dad, my mom says, yes, I definitely wanted the child. Yeah, my dad doesn't really answer that too well. He just says that it happened. But my mom said, no, I really wanted to have a second one. So at least the older one gets company for sure as well. And we were delighted to have you as well. So that's the story I get to hear as well.
So you definitely wanted.
Yes, so definitely wanted. But I think what I think fascinates me particularly is and I think when I try and look at some of these sort of I think closely is I was born on a Sunday, and then I get into the little detailing of it, Dabai. So sort of I think while of course the gap between me and my sister is about 4.5, 5 years, and of course while I sort of come around as well, I'm told that I think for many years as a tradition, my parents went to Siddhivinayak temple on a
Okay.
Sunday. Yeah, and they sort of made that a habit, and they would typically go in the afternoons when sort of it wasn't too crowded like being in the evening or wasn't like in the morning as well, and it was just the same time that I was born. So I think in that process, I think when I've been hearing those things, I think that's the God that I closely easily just relate to. So in my worst times, that's the first name which comes to me. And I am a very spiritual person. I'm also sort of extremely God loving and God fearing both as well. And I simply dote on that God. I just feel he's just so magical. There's so much mystery, and still the fact is he's still so playful. He's just so easy for anyone to just look at him and fall in love. So I think that's what I think can remember of my childhood memories in terms of the fact that yes, born in a Gujarati family, but pretty much born and brought up and raised in Bombay itself. And my schooling was pretty close to home. So I could easily just walk up into and get to school as well. Some of my closest friends are from school as well. I chose to want to sort of do, I think, commerce. And I sort of decided that. But I think there was also, I think, a bit of a sort of a creative streak within me. So for which I was also dabbling alongside to think, but I would also want to perhaps look at not being in commerce, but I said maybe I could sort of have some space where I could design buildings and that as well. So which is when I actually decided that I'll do a proper formal education in design, architecture, interior design. And I even did that for a full-fledged, and I also have a degree in that space.
Oh, is it? Okay, wow.
Yeah. But it's just that I didn't sort of, I think, take it on really. But to be honest, when you're sitting in a plane sometimes and you finished emails and some stuff and you're not looking at any good piece of content or some stuff, I'll just doodle. And the
Nice.
doodling won't only happen in a plane, it'll happen any place, right? Because sometimes you're just in a restaurant waiting for someone and there's a little napkin and there's something else, and that's what you easily do. So I sort of get that, of course, from my mom as well. She's pretty creative as well. And yeah, I sort of do that fairly often just to sort of, I think, sometimes it's a creative expression, sometimes it's a release of energy.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. In fact, you've been a sculptor as well.
Yes.
Painter, sculptor, and a bunch of things, right? So there's a lot of creative streak. It's not a streak per se. I think there's
Yeah, I
beyond
mean, it's I think everyone has a go-to, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the go-to for some is, trek. For the go-to for some is cooking, the go-to for someone is whatever as well. So I've got a couple of those, but I'm definitely someone who likes to paint.
That's amazing. So after that, you did your B schooling
Yes.
from Narsi Monji, which is not too far from where we are sitting right now.
Yes.
And then followed by your PhD in consumer behavior, right? Were there any key moments during your educational growth as well and learnings as well, which led you to where you are today? I mean, any pivotal moments that you or learnings from these institutions?
I think NMIMS has really been, I think, a great platform for me to, I think, just one level is to sort of, I think, build some of the greatest relationships that I have today. So those key sort of friends that I made there while in that B school are some of the closest I have as well, and it continues to sort of be. I think schooling or education then, I think Abhay was a little different, only simply because the fact that I think there was a lot of interpersonalization which happened primarily because we grew up in times where there was not too much of social media,
Right.
digital and all that as well. So we were pretty, I would think sometimes you would think that yes, we were a little more bookish. But having said that, I think the sort of professors were very, very involved with all of us and we were with them as well. So it was extreme, that interpersonal relationship. And even today, if you ask me, I have most of my professors' names on my phone.
Right.
And if I want to, even after 20 years, pick up a call and ask them something about marketing or consumer behavior or something else, I can easily pick up a call and I know that that person will respond to me as well.
That's fantastic.
So I've known them, and I think it's not about knowing them as namesake, but today I think over a period of time, I think those relationships are beyond the fact that they know my entire family and vice versa as well. So those relationships have just bloomed and sort of blossomed, I think, further as well. And I think a lot of the sort of marketing principles, a lot of those, I think, fundamentals were sort of, I think, given or ingrained to me at the B school for sure.
And that makes a lot of sense. In fact, I've personally met you quite a few times now, and I've seen some of your social media interactions as well. I've noticed this very interesting and probably humble habit of yours as well. I have noticed that you build those relationships with a lot of people, irrespective of their demographics, right? Be it a hotel or nice hotel, and you know the manager there, but you also know the waiting staff there very, very well by name, including the security personnel in the front of the hotel at the lobby. You know that person as well, right? And you've been very, very nice to a lot of people. You've built those relationships there as well. So I think you're a very, very relationship-driven person at large. I mean, or because in corporate life you become very transactional, is what I've been told. Or I understand, but I think you have continued that vibe of building relationships since being a child.
I think for me, I think life is all about people. And if you forget the fact that I think where we've come from or what we want to be or what we will be, and just be with the people that we are around in that moment, right? It's about living that moment and being in those few hours where you are. So whether you spoke about these examples in a coffee shop or in a hotel or whatever as well, I think everyone's doing some role play for us, right? And if I think we are not able to realize the people around us that time, I think that's the way maybe I think. It's not, I never think something is right or wrong, but that's really the way sort of I've always believed that I think the people around us really make us for the life, our day, our hours, and everything, right? So someone serving us a cup of coffee in a restaurant, someone kind of even sort of sometimes cleaning a room for us in a hotel, everything matters. And without those people, life's incomplete.
So I'm actually observing a very interesting pattern in this conversation already, right? Your educational background to your upbringing has always revolved around people centricity, which means, and then your PhD in consumer behavior as well, right? Is that one of the focal points which led you to get into media and advertising?
I got into media, I think, by chance.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's face it, I think we're typically, young, brash, sort of loud, from South Bombay again, I'm saying, kind of knowing clearly what, you're going to be studying at a certain point in time. And then suddenly, yes, I did in my pretty much early college itself, I sort of did subjects like marketing and advertising at my sort of first college itself. And I was doing my summer internships. And in the summer internships, I can still remember in one of my internships, I was with an ad agency.
Okay.
And literally, I was only 17 of age. Yeah, first internship at an ad agency. And what fascinated me was some of the shoots which would happen with, various people for some brand campaign and some stuff. And of course, I was an executive, not even executive. I was doing my internship. I was seeing it from the side, sometimes doing some little work on the side, helping some stuff as well. But clearly, I think what fascinated me was some good looking hot chicks which came into the office for sure. And they would happen all the time, trust me. Just so often. And I was like,
Okay.
bloody hell, these guys are having the time of their life. The best of the names were coming to their office and having a shoot or whatever as well. And I kind of probed and asked some questions saying, is this really what advertising is all about? They said, no, of course it's not. But I realized there was some fun they were having for sure.
Got
So
it.
I think that was, the first, perhaps the thought which sort of, I think, came in my mind as a guy saying, what, maybe you'd be around with good looking people.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need to try very hard to get a date. You will get it pretty flippantly as well. So that happened by complete, I think, chance stroke choice. Yeah, both the words for sure as well. And then I kept going with the flow.
That's amazing. That's super candid, and thank you so much for sharing
So-
that perspective. No, that's fair, right? And that's fair because I still think that you couldn't have excelled at what you do today if probably those linkages didn't exist, right? And I think at the core of you,
Yeah.
you understand human behavior very, very well, and that allows you to solve for or create value basically at the end of the day, right?
Sure.
To different structures and journeys that you've had. In fact, Jira, I wanted to talk to you about some of the early mentors that you had in your life. Now, I have noticed this on Guru Purnima or Teachers' Day on LinkedIn. You share a post every year without fail, at least for the last few years that I've noticed that, right? And you have tagged a bunch of people. You've had photographs with them. And I think the list is not normally always common. There might be some common names, but there are also
Sure.
a lot of different names.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, you have all your professors on your phone book today as well, and very, very well established relationships there. So there's a lot of value you give to your mentors as well. Do you want to talk to us about a little bit about some of the mentors who have really had a very instrumental impact in your journey, very early in your journey?
No, absolutely. I think there's no place that I haven't sort of spoken about him. I think this can be yet another is, I think, whatever that I know of digital with the word D ending in L clearly is one person responsible, Mr. Balakrishnan. I think he was the person who, I moved into and joined as Rediff Fusion. And then, of course, it was called Rediff on the net for a while before it got rechristened as Rediff.com as well. And this is really early, mid 90s.
Right.
Yeah? And people didn't know really in terms of sort of what this beast was. In fact, even I didn't know, to be honest, what I'm getting into at Rediff.com, right?
Right.
Yeah, I was just told that sort of, hey, you know what, the chairman of Rediff Fusion also is setting up this sort of little company called Rediff on the net. I think the time that we spent, I think in those initial years, I think we use this word startup very, very easily today. Yeah, but those were times when we didn't even know what startup meant.
Right.
But it was in its true sense a startup because we began life, Abhay, literally from a 1 BHK apartment.
Oh, wow.
Literally. And we were just 14 people, including 2 people who were actually people who did all errands. We would call us office boys, go to do all of that as well, right? And Ajit would really sort of, I think, talk to us, sit with us, tell us, and he would really have this vision of what the world is going to be, and we didn't know. I'm telling you, in those years, Abhay, that we created something called chat rooms. Today we're on a podcast studio, which is really fancy and cool and hip and all that as well. But chat rooms were essentially a place that you could chat with Syamar Khan, you could chat with someone else, and this was way back in, imagine, the year of 97, 98.
Yeah.
And lakhs and lakhs of people would come into these chat rooms.
Right.
So I think Ajit had this vision of doing things very, very early. He was the one who really gave India the first email. And all of these things in digital marketing, in terms of advertising and some stuff, I think had it not been that I was not perhaps blessed to have him as a mentor or as my manager, I do not think I would even have had this career of digital as well. Because I think it began from there. I think then it just became from learning, it became liking. From liking, it became loving. From loving, it became really about what I really like every day.
Hmm.
And I want to do it more and more and more. So I think if that, I think foundation wasn't set up, and I think he really sort of, I think, took the effort at one level. He was a go-to guy.
Hmm.
So he was very clear in terms of getting things done. And he was, he made that really implicit to us in terms of what we need to sort of do. But I think he was also someone who would tell you really in terms of, if you didn't know, for example, right? Today in the internet space, we have these terms which we use very, very often, and we hear of, and jargon, impressions, clicks, attribution, things of that sort. He spoke about those terms 30 years ago.
Wow.
Literally 30 years ago. Maybe he didn't really get onto things like CPS and all of those things, but at least he knew exactly in terms of the fact that this is really the currency in which you could look at how, it's important to look at a way to map whether, that website is, getting traffic, right traffic. If you're doing something for a brand as well, is it working, not working? And I think it was these little things that he sort of, I think, told us all, which got us not just to believe in his vision, but I think also because I think some of us began working so closely with him, to be honest. I think we just felt that natural love. And I still remain forever indebted in terms of the fact that today, whatever that I know is perhaps because of him. So one man which comes to my mind immediately, clearly, is that sort of person for sure. I think if I had to pick maybe a second person, I think a couple of years later in my career, I sort of was on the other side of the fence, which is on the advertising services side of it. Yeah. And
Nice.
I was one of the first guys who sort of, I think, joined into a system or a company called Havas then. It was, in different spaces called differently. So they had a media vertical called MPG, called
Right.
Media Planning Group. They had a creative outfit called Euro RSCG, which was the main sort of flagship in the same group as well. And the digital vertical of theirs was called Media Contacts. And I still remember I was, I think, literally one of the first guys hired in this region to sort of build that narrative for
Right.
them. I had great, bosses who sort of hired me as well. And my sort of country manager then, Anita Nair, was responsible to sort of tell me in terms of what my role would be. But of course, I was reporting more to global. And the person that I think, the 2-3 people I can still name very easily is the global CEO, a gentleman called Don Epperson. He's based out of Boston. And I think he's absolutely fantastic just to sort of, I think, just be able to tell you the deep, I think, thoughts of what the digital way of, I think, communication is going to change. Yeah. And those are days, I think, Abhay, the years of between 2007 onwards when I was there as well. And digital wasn't still mainline.
Right.
It was still less than 1% of the ad dollar. Literally from that perspective. But I think Don, and the second person I can name very clearly is, I think we had a global COO called Anthony Rind. I think, I pick a lot of the things from him just because of the fact that I think he had a certain swagger with him. He just had a certain style, which I fell in love with.
Nice.
Yeah. I think despite the fact that, you're an agency, people were thoughtful that, you're an agency, you can easily wear denims and some stuff. But I would see that this gentleman had a way of carrying himself at a client meeting or meeting other people and some stuff. And I just realized that he is different. And I often had these even one-to-ones with him and said, hey, and I would call him Ant. And of course, over a period of time, I got friendly with him as well. Anthony was his name. And he just told me a few things that, hey, you know what, you don't need to necessarily follow and look at other people around you or look at your seniors. Just dress the way you want to. Yeah. And in the digital space, nothing is, like a rule book. So I picked a lot of those things from both of those people, not just from a lens of India. I think both of them really showed the world to me. I was very fortunate, extremely early in my career. Abhay, I may have had the fortune to perhaps visit over at least 30 to 40 countries.
Right.
Yeah, in various capacities in terms of workshops, mancoms, fun sessions and all of that across APAC, Europe, of course, Havas being friends, so Europe and all that as well. And I think it gave me a lot of perspective, especially meeting my counterparts in other countries. So while, of course, when I began life, I was essentially the one man on the ground to look at India and grow India as a market. But I think it came naturally to me and it became easy, and I kept growing the team as well. I moved from India role to South Asia. And I think God was kind that I think it was right timing. And even then, I think it was still 1%. But I think what really, I think, kept me going is, I think, this whole thought from Don, Ant, and so many other people is that, you know what, be at it.
Right.
Really, you know, if you're going to consistently just educate the clients, really, even that is half your work done, right? Because if you don't educate your clients that time, think about that time, talking about almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, because that education finally has brought the clients to spending 50% of the budgets now.
Wow. Yeah.
So some of us, if we didn't tell them what search was, what video was, what something else was, what something else was, I don't think that magic would have been around right now. And to be honest, I'm not a techie as such. Someone who's on the business side of things as well. But I think learning through some of these people also gave me a lot of those technology nuances, words, terms. Of course, over a period of time, of course, I did get my hands dirty, do some stuff as well. Of course, I still haven't written code. That's something which I want to do, and that's something which is a must do or a kind of thing to do in 2025. Hopefully, you'll do that as well. But yeah, I think those two people come easy to me as well as mentors.
Well, that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing such interesting pointers, perspectives, and pearls of wisdom, right? Because they're actually very profound. A lot of points that you provided, right? Because I realized that some people you have a relationship with where they give you perspectives where you learn from. Some people, just by their presence, also have a aura that you start looking up to them. They inspire you in different ways apart from the conversations, right?
Yeah.
So either which way, there's this mentorship that's being provided,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So thank you for sharing such a profound example. In fact, you spoke about Rediff. It was a behemoth that people realized much later.
Yeah.
But the second one, which was Times of India, you were transitioning Times of India as a print behemoth to a digital one, right? And you were involved in that whole transition period for them.
Yes.
And lots of brands for the first time started having marketing success stories being created on the digital side as well. And like you mentioned, many of them today, for the kind of ad spend that they have on digital, wouldn't have existed if you and a few of your colleagues or peers at that point of time wouldn't have laid those foundation stones. And then you spoke about Havas as well.
Yes.
There again, you were instrumental in Mobix, if I'm not wrong, which was a mobile first
Yes.
marketing unit, right?
Yes.
Which was something that was happening for the first time in India, probably globally as well.
Yes.
This was picking up, and you went ahead and kind of got this going, right?
Yeah.
Could you give us a few examples, maybe during that journey as well, where you may have found it difficult or challenging at that point of time to convince brands to go digital, right? Because
Far too many, Jabai. I can't tell you how frustrating sometimes it was when you went and you had, so Havas being, a global sort of company, also French in origin. I think a lot of the clients are French.
right,
By that, kind of ease of getting business, if that's the word to use. And therefore, the likes of Capgemini, Air France, KLM, and so many others, which happen by default, you'd work with them in all markets, right?
right,
And I still remember it was literally, I think, on my second month. And, they said, Air France works with us in all the regions. And I had just come back literally from Paris in my induction, come back, and I was meeting the local team of Air France in India, talking and some stuff. And they said, yes, we've got this campaign coming up and we've got to plan that and all of those things as well. And here we're putting all the numbers, trying to put plans, creative thinking, all of that as well, literally. And I realized that in the overall scheme of things, they've already earmarked what they want to do, because we're putting all those ideas. And they say, yeah, you know what, we're going to spend I still remember that very well because it hit me so hard. They said, no, we'll spend about 52 lakhs and we'll do about 3 lakhs with you on digital. And they said even 3 is actually out to the little more. If we
Right.
can cut 3 and make it 2, it'll be better. So we could put that little extra on a hoarding or something. And I'm like just listening to the people, and I'm like, okay, we're presenting ideas, and those ideas itself are like, of about 8 lakhs and 9 lakhs and some stuff. And all those ideas, they said great ideas, and thinking we'll do it next time, maybe next campaign. And that journey continued, Abhay. Trust me, in those years from 2006, 7, 8, we put some of those best ideas, but it was always the fact that you would be left with either the crumbs,
Right.
either the fact that saying that, we've decided and earmarked this already.
Right.
So those kind of things which come to me easier. This was from the client that we worked in all geographies. So almost 200 countries Havas worked with Air France. And this is really what I sort of felt. And of course, I did share that then with local teams. I gave that feedback into Don and some stuff. They said, doesn't matter. It's okay. Even if you got 3, it's fine. It's completely okay. As long as you even got to 3.
Yeah.
Because there could be times when they would have not even looked at digital. So
Right.
look at 3 as a winning. So imagine then, that's the vision that some people like Don and Ant had, that to say, even if you manage to get from the overall campaign 3, which is, they look at it from a different perspective, 3 is already 5% of what that overall campaign was.
Right.
So what you've already accomplished is that. So that's what I take back sometimes as well. So those are things which I can easily remember. But one client which I will never forget, I still remember, is a big CPG brand called Reckitt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this very, very interesting lady who used to run the media business, marketing business. And she's a very dear friend who runs the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for India now. And that time she was like so difficult that everyone got scared of her. Even the biggest guys in MPG, senior guys who sort of talk about print and TV and some stuff, would be like fearsome when they
Right.
had a meeting with her as well, right? And I, had the first or second meeting. At that time, she was like, digital? No ways. I'm happy. CPRP is all the typical jargon on television. So that would never get, kind of looked at from a digital lens. So, one campaign, second campaign, third campaign, like 10 campaigns happened with Reckitt, no digital at all, right?
Okay.
And I was like, what do you do? How do you break into this, this lady's thought process, right? Literally, how do you break into her thought process? So then this big campaign was coming up, I still remember, of Dettol, which is one of their flagship brands.
Right.
Big campaign. And, under her, there was another lady as well. And she said, let's try some stuff. Maybe you can do a little thought process of just Googling up some information and some stuff. And she said, okay, fine, let's present this stuff to the super boss there. And I did all of that as well. And we did like literally, I think 6 to 7 meetings. And the guys in the mainline teams, mainline is in terms of print, TV, and those people are saying, the FaceTime that you're getting is 2-3 hours. We don't even get half an hour, but we get 2 crore campaigns.
Right.
Yeah. So at one level, I felt that they were mocking me because the fact of saying that, what, I'm getting 3 hours with the client side and I'm still not getting any money spent.
Right.
Yeah. And they were getting all the money spent as well. And finally, I said, what, let's just crack into Dettol. And believe you me, the first campaign that we got was a search marketing campaign. Literally
Right.
just Google AdWords and some stuff. And they said, really do a good job of it. And let's spend with 1 lakh. I said, okay. Came back literally to the office. I still remember some of the people in my team as well. And we got this news and we shared it with Anita and many people as well. And they were laughing at us.
For the quantum.
Yeah, for the quantum. They said 1 lakh is 1 spot on TV
Right.
or less than that. So what have you done? What have you accomplished? But I said, at least we've managed to scratch the surface somewhere.
Right.
But I think that in a manner jolted me and in a manner still sort of said, let's be at it.
Right.
But we kept being at it. And in the time that I continued to be in Havas for a good close to almost 3.5 years, 4 years, we managed to make it a good business. I can comfortably today say that I'm not in Havas. Neither is Reckitt with Havas as well. But today Reckitt spends about 28% of their overall budget on digital.
Oh, brilliant.
And I think had it not been for that one first campaign of Dettol and some many others, they would have never tasted or understood the importance of digital. And today when they spend about closer to about 600 crore, and we can do the math, it's a good amount of money which they spend on digital.
True. 180 crores of that.
So
That's massive.
yeah.
That's
So
massive.
yeah, I think a lot of these, I think we've had trials, we've had tribulations, we've had our moments. Clearly, sort of in those moments, we've sort of felt like, oh God, what the hell? You could have done better. But yeah.
This conversation of yours and amazing examples that you've just shared
Yeah.
reminds me of a TV show called as Madmen.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah, so it reminds me of that because they expose you through various challenges of converting clients and talking to them about ideas which are probably ahead of their time.
Sure.
And clients just don't want to listen to that because they are so used to seeing what they're used to seeing and they're not ready to experiment beyond that, right?
Sure.
Because everything is very media buying, media selling is so ROI driven that they don't want to run those experiments. So after Avas, then you went to join Reliance ADA Group, where you are leading digital transformation.
Yes.
This could have been again very challenging because you were working with multiple group businesses. How difficult or easy was it to manage and kind of consolidate a lot of these group businesses to come to singular strategies, or were they very, very different and personalized to each of them?
I think I can tell you one thing, Abhay, for sure, is that there's some very large behemoths, Indian organizations, which are still family owned, but have grown to the size and scale of a Tata or a Reliance or a Birla and what have you as well. And I think the way they're culturally built is very, very entrepreneurial.
Right.
So at one level, there's a hard thought in terms of profitability, in terms of making money, in terms of the way you run your business. But at the same time, they also give you a lot of freedom to, be able to give leaders or those teams or verticals to kind of, I think, have the vision to do it. Which is why, of course, they give you that good salary package, they give you the opportunities and all of those. So I think with all of those perks, but also comes the fact that I think a fair amount of responsibility, and it came fairly early in my career as well. But as the right word that you used, right, because it was such a large organization and multiple stakeholders, multiple verticals, multiple organizations, which are listed companies within the group itself, right? So to sort of, I think, have one clear-cut strategy was almost impossible. But clearly, I think every vertical, so for example, Reliance Capital would have its own, or Reliance Energy would have its own, Reliance Communications in its avatar then, which was the first sort of, I think, big telecom brand then. I think all of those were different verticals led by different CEOs. And I think my role essentially was to try and play this critical path of trying to educate all of those different CEOs and leaders in those teams in terms of their digital journey.
Right.
Whether they should be doing a forward moving strategy on digital, but they should be looking at just backward integration, but they should be looking at cost cutting in terms of marketing, multiple things in terms of, I think, what was put out in terms of the opportunities. But I think it was challenging, to say the least, because I think a lot of those CEOs really sat in really fancy cabins, and they also had a fair amount of big ego. So for someone to tell them what you're doing wrong is right, or what you're doing right is wrong, was not something which they would hear easily, right? Because they were used to doing things in a particular fashion. Suddenly you come in to sort of say, this is what you've got to do, and you digitize it, bring technology in. It was not something which a lot of people, typical CEOs of organizations, 60, 65 plus, 60, whatever that age, irrespective of that, they were a certain mindset. So I think my role really was to, I think, be able to work around those mindsets. And I think also what worked for me even then was, I think, just the fact of being ears to them. And I was always trying to understand that, where it is someone who's running a Reliance hospital, or if it is running a mobile brand or whatever as well, what fascinated them, their consumers and their things. And I kept, I think, trying to tell them what they could do with using digital. So it was never something which was saying that, the world is suddenly moved to this, so you got to move in that direction. Because I realized that if you use that approach, it may not be the best thing to do. So it was more about, I think, making them very, very inclusive in understanding them as their DNA, as their people of being leaders in their organizations,
right?
Educating them. And I think thankfully, little by little, I think that worked as well. Today, I think some of those CEOs of Reliance are also dear friends. They may not be in Reliance today, but I think the little thing that we did there as well was to sort of, I think, at some level was creating also an internal ecosystem. So I think along the path, I think what also came to me from, I think, the closer to the chairman's office was setting up a little digital hub,
right,
for the whole group.
Got it.
So we created this entire ecosystem called Worldwide Open, which was this sort of centralized digital marketing services sort of a organization. Also, I think when I think back, it was a little thoughtful already from the chairman's office, right?
Right.
I think companies across the world, you hear of those companies or big IT companies who keep digital hubs and spokes and all of those things. But we sort of one of the first few companies of Indian origin to think along those lines, make a team. But still, at the same time, while it was made, it's not that therefore I got business easily. I still had to convince the Reliance communications people that we can do work for you better than what you would do with McCann in terms of your communication,
Right.
better than what you would do with, say, a mainline agency or some stuff, and I think win their confidence. So although the kind of space was given to us, we wrote our own book. We
Nice.
really wrote our own digital book for Reliance.
Mhm.
And we, I think, grew from a team of literally one or two people to like more than hundreds of people,
Wow.
literally. And thankfully, I think while a lot of the businesses over a period of time also got digitized, right? So for example, whether it was Reliance Capital, it was, I think, even called as sort of Reliance Mutual Fund, which is now Nippon,
Right.
right? I think I still remember that time, Apai, there used to be in a time when sort of, I think, even implementation of things like SAP and many other things and cloud was first of its kind,
Right.
literally first of its kind. People didn't do it then. But, we were the ones who really sort of pushed that thought to sort of literally saying that let's put everything, let's make everything easy and, let's create those spaces. Let's create that digital box. Let's create that library, all of it. And thankfully, it just continued then.
That's fantastic. In fact, you spoke about some of these activities being the first time that they were happening, right? It's not just for Reliance. You have done this over and over again with various brands. Because after Reliance with Sony, you brought the Indian Idol format to the country. You were also responsible for the first time in India, seeing a show which was consumer interactive in nature, where consumers on the TV screens were able to interact with the show live by voting and participating in various activities, which had never happened before. Can you shed some light on that as well? Because, see, again, for me, as a person who's been working towards strategy and innovation too for about 12 years now, I've noticed this that a lot of my experiments have been towards enhanced consumer experiences, which means better mechanisms, channels of messaging for the brand to the consumers. And this is exactly for the first time that has happened in the Indian industry. Do you want to talk a little bit about what those challenges were like and what the real outcomes looked like at that point in time?
No, I still remember that very well, I think, Abhay, because I think the format Indian Idol is something which is a global format, which Fremantle owns across, is the, I think, license sort of format holder across the world as well. And I was leading Fremantle for India. And at one level, the job was to sort of sell those formats to television broadcasters. But I think globally, the format also involved the fact of making the format interactive. I distinctly remember those were very, very early days of feature phones, not even the sort of smartphones. So the feature phones were there in India then. And most of our homes were still using landlines. Yeah, it was still, one person who was a little more accomplished in his life, or one person in the house had a mobile phone.
Right.
Yeah. And the rest, of course, had landline, of course, for their communication, right? And therefore, the thought was, if you want to make this show come a little bit alive, and the format of the show was really to kind of give entertainment its sort of space, again, in the music space, international format as well. I still remember the earliest meetings, and this was the first year, the first season. And we had Sonu, who's a great friend now. We had Farah Khan, and we had Anu Malik. And they were like, global to chal gaya format, will it work in India? We've got the right people, and they were thoughtful, and they sort of came on board as well. And I still remember some of those initial meetings with the three of them. They said, we want to make this work. But how do you sort of, I think, make the same, what you're doing in the US and London and all those things happen here as well? So you've got to figure out some way. So they said, I still remember these ideas actually came from, I think, someone like Anu Malik. And he said, you know what? Literally, India lies in the smallest of villages. He said, he was giving those instances that his music percolates down to someone who's driving a rickshaw in a tiny village. And that's how they listen on that radio transistor, whatever that time as well. So we were trying to, so then I was having talks with my global teams, and they said, hey, you know what? You guys do it, the interactive piece across mobile, which is still a phone there, even then feature phone there. How do we do it? And that's when we began to think, can we do something on landline?
Right.
Yeah. And those conversations began with the BSNL, MTNLs of the world. And believe you me, I have had more, I think, discussions and more flights to Hyderabad in those years than ever in my life, because I was in Hyderabad parked like thrice a week. too convinced because Hyderabad apparently is the seat or the center for BSNL exchange in the country, if you didn't know that.
No, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
And some people there were telling us, what is this nonsense? And they kept us and you had to fill up forms. Sarkari company, right? Typically, why do you want? Because we wanted one number, one central number. They've never done this before, ever. And I was trying to explain to them, if you do this, what is the opportunity for you as a government company to make money? For
Right.
example, right? Ke log phone karenge and people are going to sort of call up and, that revenue is going to come, for example. He said, no one, since no one's going to call up, who is going to see one show and call up and all of those things. Finally, those discussions happened. Because of those discussions taking longer, the actual dates of the thought process of doing the shoots changed and kept changing. I still remember Sonu got irritable at one point saying, I've committed, we've got to do it. And I said, no, but we have not got this. How it'll not be interactive.
Right.
Finally, I think after 7 months, there was one gentleman from Hyderabad who said, nahi, kar lo. Theek hai. Gave us that nod. And the phone line, so if you called up from a phone number on a toll-free number, which was sort of given, that would still cost you as a customer, it would cost you 2 rupees 40 paisa. Yeah. And the math was that they would keep a large chunk of it. And as an organization, between me and the channel, we would keep a certain percentage as well. But believe you me, God was on our side or something miraculously happened and we created history. At 55 million people who called up in that year. That year is literally sort of the year of 2005 and 6, first season. Of course, it was the biggest season. Those numbers have never repeated as well. 55 million people. This is only on the landline.
Wow.
But do the math. 55 million into 2 rupees 40 paisa. Those guys were flooded with money. And they realized this is an opportunity for every show to become interactive on TV.
Wow.
But we started
That's huge. Yeah.
And then we did the same thing on the smartphones as well, the sort of feature phones then as well, and opened out, calling there as well. And we went a little further to sort of say, in those days, it was all about, I think, in the mobile space, there was this interesting thing called wallpapers, screensavers, jokes, and, behind the scenes. We made a lot of that because I think value-added services then in the mobile world or the telephony world was good business.
Right.
So we tied up with, I think, every telecom company. At that time, it was Idea and there was Vodafone then and Airtel and all of those companies. And we gave these creative services. And trust me, people went mad. People went mad just to sort of see Abhijit's pictures or Rahul Vaidya's pictures. They're all big celebrities today on Insta and whatever as well. But these are the guys in the first season.
Right.
If you see them then, if you see them now, you'll see, wow, they've changed as well.
True.
But those, they really sort of, I think it was also the fact that people had never sort of understood interactive TV. They didn't realize that they could suddenly see sort of someone like Abhijit in their phone. They didn't know they could, save his wallpaper and all of this. So all of these became like sudden new revenue streams. And think about it, when things were happening, then we started saying, hey, you know what? We went into brands and said, do you want to be part of this as well?
Right.
So then brands became part of the process because where consumers are, brands will come.
True.
Yeah. So we immediately got brands in all of those value-added services as well. Not to say, of course, we had brands participating in the show on television as well. But I think, yes, great. I think had it not been for that mad persistence or that thought in terms of really getting it, because at some point, literally there were moments from frustration from headquarters saying, let it be. Let's just do just mobile and let the landline not happen because this is government. You can't shake them.
Now, you spoke about resilience and perseverance very early in our conversation today, and you mentioned this again, right? This is such a profound example of how so much can be achieved if you are perseverant.
But I'll tell you what, the better story is, I still remember because money started flowing, right?
Right.
Yeah, money started flowing. And as a company, Fremantle is very, very transparent, very, very prudent about making sure that partners get their money as well.
Right.
And I, in my life, saw one of my first checks. I still can't fathom how many zeros it had. And I still was told, personally go into a flight again to Hyderabad and present this check to the gentleman who nodded and gave you that approval. And he was also delighted. He was like, is this for true?
Yeah.
And this is his first check. And he's like, he literally, I'm guessing he smelt the coffee then.
Wow. So that is $130 million, if I'm not wrong, only on phone calls. And there would be so many other sources of revenue as well.
Yes.
Wow. That's
So
massive.
we kind of opened the floodgates, and of course, every show, pretty much every reality show and every sort of interactive show did it. And I think thankfully, of course, and in that process, but I think a lot of partners came along as well. We obviously got a lot of support from telecom companies and multiple people. So I wouldn't never want to say that this was something that Fremantle or Kushal did really. It was a real big effort that everyone worked towards. It was Vodafone, it was Airtel, because they also pushed all of that as well. So
Right.
even if you sort of picked up, some of those old ads first season, you would have short codes saying, SMS so and so, and then mobile. I still remember it was SMS 52525.
Right.
Yeah, because it was also thoughtful number which was put by Sony. Yeah, so it was their number which you could. It was all about being able to relate to a number, right? You want to keep it simple. So everything which happened across Sony as a platform then was 2525.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so thoughtful and so complicated, yet at created impacts at such a scale. And I think when I look at it from a consumer lens, the impact was about giving or letting the consumers feel that they had a power in their hands,
Literally.
which they could immediately see it on live TV.
No,
Right?
I think it was basically democratizing the fact that you have a reason to choose your Indian Idol.
Right.
It was not Sony, it was not Fremantle, it was no one. It was saying you decide literally who you want as India's first Indian Idol.
Yep. I
And
remember seeing that show, by the way, the season one,
literally, and I still remember the last episode that we shot, and clearly amongst us, we thought this guy has it to be it, and we were completely taken aback that he didn't actually, literally, and there was a black dog who came ahead and won the first one. But it was pure the transparency of the system, that how many votes that person got,
Right.
he or she would win that coveted crown.
Exactly. And I think that was a game changer. That's been a game
Literally.
changer.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's very inspiring. And I know for a fact that you have over the years worked with more than 400 brands. Or maybe it's a dated number, it might be a lot more as well. But 400, 500 odd brands that you've worked with, you have gotten more than 50 awards for various different innovation, transformation activities that you have done, right, along with these brands. Wanted to check with you, is there any particular campaign that created the most impact, or that just, is the closest to heart?
Honestly, if you ask me, Abhay, it's not about, I always believe that I'm a constant learner.
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel that none of the work that I have done till date, it might have won global recognition, awards. In fact, a lot of the work even in Cannes and multiple places as well. But I've still not felt that I have done like the best thing. Yeah. But I take pride and I take a lot of learning from, I think, a lot of my seniors, and I think people who have taught me a lot of things as well. I clearly think that something which works and resonates with me is, and I'm sure a lot of people our age, easily millennials, can easily talk about the fact that if we were to think of one of the most favorite advertising India has seen, heard, or remembered, is that of the girl coming onto a cricket field, literally just dancing her way through, and just creating such a rush. Yeah, it was something which even today, when I see that ad, it gives me goosebumps.
Mondelez, Cadbury.
Yes, Mondelez, yeah. Kya swad hai, and it's not just it's everything coming together. Yeah, it's the whole jingle, it's a narrative, it's that moment. And of course, that's one slice of that girl, of course, on the cricket field. There's other many sort of films as well. Of course, it's, people will say this was really the Piyush touch or the Sonal Dabral touch. And of course, they're veterans and people that I look up to. So I think for me, I would never feel that I was someone who's done any of that as well. So I think some of these campaigns have really, I think, always been so inspirational that you need to sort of, I think, touch people. And I think advertising or marketing or communication is all about, I think, being able to finally, I think, connect with you at heart.
True.
Whether you finally buy that product or you don't buy that brand is all secondary, right? But if what you will feel about that first rush of that girl on the cricket field.
Right.
Or I'll tell you another campaign which I think is something that I love to talk about as well, is that, all of us, especially most of us who live in smaller homes as compared to so many of our friends in other cities, is, our home is a typical 1 BHK, 2 BHK if you're lucky in Bombay. Yeah. But your home is sort of your space.
Right.
It's your comfort. It's your, your little go-to. But it's that home which defines your parents, how they've made it for you, or your children, or everyone who's part of that family unit.
Right.
And I think many years back, I think there was again this very exceptional campaign done by Asian Paints, which says, Har Ghar Kuch Kehta Hai. Yeah. It's a story which I think is seamless across the entire country, because I think a home is a home in any part of India.
True.
Whether you look at the northeast, you look at the south, you look at Jammu, anything as well. And it's so beautifully scripted and thought about, because at the end of the day, it is that space which is what you make of your home. Whether it's your mom, whether it's your wife, whether it's your kid. Right? It's about every single thing. And I think it's about these little insights which we pick from, I think, these communication pieces, which always makes me sort of always hungry to say that I still have a lot to learn. I still haven't done the best yet, because there's so many others who've really gone ahead and done and created these marvels for India, literally. Now, this is really, I think, I would sometimes call that, yes, these guys have reached the pinnacle of success with some of these campaigns and all that as well. But of course, advertising has changed. Trust me, I think, Abhay, from the time that, we can almost, easily speak about Asian Paints and Cadbury's, because it's been times when there wasn't as much of content. Today, literally, there's so much of it that it's, even if there's something great being done from a marketing perspective, it'll live its journey.
Right.
You'll not remember it even after like 3 months. It'll just go up there. It'll remain a case study. It'll go up in terms of sales uplift, whatever, profitability, all of those things. But you will never be able to speak of it passionately. You will never feel, wow. You'll never even remember it, to be honest. So, which is what I think with a lot of new, I think, channels coming up, new mediums coming up, and all of this. And we're living a world which is so going to be across reels and AI and so much more in digital and some stuff, that I think marketing is going to be changing so dramatically, so differently.
Right.
But I'm still a bit old school of thought here. So where I think that while AI comes into our lives and all that happens and all of this happens as well, if you're not going to be able to connect, if you're not going to lose flesh, you've not done it. And no AI in the room can give you an equal's flesh.
Wow. That's a strong statement to make, and thank you so much for sharing your perspective, because I was actually about to ask you this, right? There are a lot of new technologies that are coming in, including AI. What is your take on it? So it gives me that clarity in terms of, at the end of the day, if you're not able to make that human connect, kind of get those human emotions out there, then it's not going to crack it, right?
Well, I'm sure there are loads of people who think differently. Some of the biggest companies in the world, which is the likes of an Accenture or what have you, sort of think that, clearly we're moving in that massive scale. So of course we can mass produce, do things at scale, all of those things. Will it really make you feel, wow? Will it give you that moment, or will it give you that rush? Perhaps not. When you perhaps still see a great ad which was done by some of the biggest brands in the world, whether it's Nike or Coca-Cola and so many such examples, it somewhere connects with you. And that, I think, the thinking comes from a good creative thinker who thinks like a human being. So with due respect to all the tech and all the AI, if you're not going to have HI in life, advertising will lose its sheen.
HI, for people who do not know what he was talking about, is human intelligence, right?
Yes.
No, that's very fair, right? Because tech in these cases can be enablers to bring the scale that we're looking for distribution or for some certain other aspects of advertising, but not really replacing the human quotient there, right? The emotional quotient there,
yes,
which is so critical for that ad to create the right kind of emotions in every human who's watching it. You also mentioned about increase in channels. So the channels have become fragmented, which means the distribution is across so many different channels, and it's no longer a unified source. What I've personally seen in this space, where I've tried to use a bit of AI, is distribution, right? At scale. The Shah Rukh Khan ad for Diwali,
Mondelez.
Mondelez,
Yes.
that's where AI was used. And I
Yeah.
was, kind of having conversations with the same founder who built this out, right? I
Sure.
was doing some work with them in
Yeah.
the past as well.
Yeah.
But not just that, I tried a similar company when I was at TVS, and we ran a couple of campaigns in regional languages where it could be personalized to every individual. So imagine Amitabh Bachchan or a MSD were brand ambassadors for various different products of TVS Group.
Speaking to you itself. Yes.
Yeah, so they were having a one-on-one conversation. Hey Kushal, hey Abhay. And then they would talk about your pain point, because we were able to look at digital footprint of a consumer and see that they were probably stuck at financial section a lot more.
Sure.
Which means they're deliberating about what is the best mechanism to go about making a purchase financially.
Right.
So there could be a one-on-one message from Amitabh Bachchan saying that, hey Abhay, we noticed that you wanted to buy a black Apache RTR 310.
Sure.
And you're looking for financial options. If you want to get more insights and understanding about this, click here to talk to a support. And I would be like, wow, is that Amitabh Bachchan really getting a message from Amitabh Bachchan? In fact, I remember doing this when Rephrase had partnered with Mondelez for not just before the Shah Rukh Khan ad as well. They did it with Hrithik Roshan for the Raksha Bandhan ad.
Yes.
And I created a video out of that too, because of course I was working parallelly with Rephrase as well. So I created that for my younger sister, whose name is Shauna. So and I sent it in the cousins group.
Yes.
Where Hrithik says, "Hi Abhay, hi Shauna. Shauna, wishing you wishing both of you a very happy Raksha Bandhan, and I think both of you fight a lot. You've been having such amazing bond, this and that, and blah blah blah." He says a bunch of things. And a majority of my cousins were like, how the hell do you know Hrithik Roshan?
Right.
So, whereas when I tried something similar with my own persona, it had failed. It could not pass the Turing's test a few months before that. But by the time it reached Hrithik and they were just replacing a couple of words here or there, it was actually doing so well. Where my own cousins were like, bought into it. That as an experience. So so for me, distribution became an obvious problem to solve for this. In TVS, we could think about, let's say, a country like Mexico or Brazil, where instead of us going to one of those markets where we already had presence in, but hiring a studio, hiring a model, and training that model to say something and creating a whole ad out of that, we could just use auto-created libraries where we could use a Brazilian-looking model to speak Spanish or Portuguese, and so on and so forth, and start distributing. So it became easy. It will never be able to replace core advertising, but it was just messaging that became comparatively easier.
No. So I'm definitely a huge fan of AI as well, as much as, while I have got my own thoughts and perspectives as well. So I think at fundamental levels, it's superbly working. It sort of plays out for you in multiple spaces of, I think, getting things done faster, distribution, so much as well. But I think it has to be still, it's a mix of someone who's thinking in that core central idea, which then gets, I think, exemplified with AI. So AI is the enabler. It can't be the person who thinks for the idea, right? So what you're talking in the examples, there's got to be someone who thinks of it first, and then AI then becomes the distributor, enabler in the process.
Makes a lot of sense. So what do you think is the future of marketing? How does this evolve from here? We've already seen a lot of evolution over the last 2 decades or more. What's the next big thing that we'll see in marketing?
I think there's been a lot of discussions around what we just spoke as well about hyper-personalization at scale. Or the fact of being able to localize for the local community. Yeah. So those are big buzzwords in multiple geographies, not just India. You go to Brazil, you go to Peru, you go to China, you go to Japan. They're pretty much across the world as well. So the ability for marketers to start not just in terms of one level of making communication going down to that level, but it is actually creating for products for those customers.
Got it.
Yeah. So literally, I think some of the biggest D2C companies which are sort of making splashes and waves, and we saw that happening in India, Minimalist picking up a big amount of money for 4,000 crore. I think the thought is to sort of let those marketers be also very nimble,
right?
Be thoughtful of creating personalized products for people. So we've seen a lot of times in the West, we've seen companies making promotions, and we sort of see that so often, saying they will put, because in the West you have, you will have max like 50 odd names. You will have Peter and Don and John and all of that, and you'd have a lot of companies picking those names and making it sound personal and do marketing gimmicks around that, personalization and some stuff. But today it's not about just those gratifications. It's actually to say, you know what, if for example a CPG brand is able to make, for example, a noodle specific for Abhay,
Right.
or is it making a shampoo specific for Abhay's wife? Now that, even if it comes across in a manner that is for me, made for me, that's really it. But it can't be in for all organizations, right? Because you will have still
True.
some companies which cannot. So I think therefore marketing is going to be about, I think, getting down to understand consumers so micromanaging, literally.
Right.
Because I think the fact is, with all these data signals that we're getting, whether it is through social or behavioral, on all of those things, I think we get enough repository of consumer data and knowledge.
Makes a lot of
If you're
sense.
able to get that, and if you're able to, I think, listen, and if you're able to on the fly create some of those, and I think some of the most successful companies today are the ones, and we call them D2C often enough, but they're the ones who really understand these peeves. So whether it's a luggage company putting, maybe handles on 3 sides,
Right.
they figure that out for a particular peeve of a customer.
Right.
Or if it's someone creating a particular soap with perhaps it becoming bulgier on the top and shallow at the bottom, it's because of a certain peeve of someone feeling that it's either getting used quickly or it feels better on the skin. So I think a lot of these little nuances, a lot of these things which come out sometimes also through social complaints. We've got to realize that today, I think the new age brands who want to make it big will have to figure out problem statements
Right.
or issues which have been there with some of the largest legacy companies, which is what is giving the jitters to companies like Unilever today or a Nestle. And the largest companies is that they're losing market share, they're losing customers, they're losing many other things for just the reason that they haven't been able to do what some of the new people are doing on the block.
Right.
So, of course, while they go around and completely, because they have the bank and the wallets, they can easily pick up those new age companies. But I think a lesson to be learned is, I think, really about being able to be really having your ear continue to consumers, the agility to be able to adapt. Of course, technology is not a new thing now. So
Right.
the fact is, it's almost as a given that you have to be with it, right? But if then at all, if you're able to either create new need. So today, think about it today, a country which we don't know much yet about, yet suddenly there is so much talk about a country like Indonesia or Croatia or Korea in India as either destinations to go and travel,
Right.
or in terms of beauty, or in terms of clothing, or in terms of food.
True.
There's all of this culture which is coming in. So I think India sits at a very, I think Indians have this ability to be able to continually want something new every time. And it's not about today.
Right.
You try and look at 500 years back, and the queens and the kings and even the people in their villages
Right.
wanted something new.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they wanted a new vegetable,
Right.
or they wanted to eat the vegetable differently. The queen wanted a different jewel, the king wanted a new horse,
Right.
and all of that. We're no different. We're completely in the center of the world today, where one is, I think, as consumers, there's this crazy growing upper middle class
Right.
who wants the best out of everything. Wants it fast, wants it young, wants it everything.
True.
Wants the best credit card, wants the best bag, wants the best car, all of those things. At the same time, he also has an urge yet to eat and consume what is locally made.
Makes sense.
So, therefore, I'm saying India is unique. We're happy to sit in an Audi car, but we're happy to have the vada pav on the road.
True. Very true.
And we're still happy to go onto a holiday with our grandparents and sort of even sit on the terrace and sleep out on that village terrace in that courtyard. Yeah, look at the stars up there. And that's what I call India is so unique.
Makes sense.
Nowhere in the world would you have a unit of 20 people, you know, in the night for hours just gazing at the stars, talking banter, talking nonsense, or talking God knows what, suddenly even running down, picking up their booze, or nibbling on some stuff and whatever. This is India.
Very
It's
true.
not going to change. And then those moments are when magic, if you are able to do as a marketer, you got it right.
Brilliant. No, that makes so much sense. And thank you so much for sharing this. This is fantastic, right? I think a lesson for all the people who want to get into branding, who want to get into digital transformation, who want to get into advertising. This is such an important and valid point, because India as a country has such a large population, such a diverse yet impact creating opportunity, right? So this is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Yeah.
On that note, so I wanted to ask you one last question before I want to get into the rapid fire as well. You have been advising startups, you've been investing in startups, you've been on the board of various companies and brands, right? One of them that's something more recent that has happened is also IIGC, Indian Influencer Governing Council. Do you want to share a few perspectives about why this was created? How is that helping? Because content creation today is very different. There have been challenges on both the ends, from the brand side, from the content creators end. And basically, from my conversation with you, I understand that IGC is for that. But for the consumer's perspective, a lot of people now are getting into content creation. A lot of them are into content consumption, of course. How does this body really create impact at a national level?
I think the thought is very simple that, again, I'm just using the word again, India, and the same narrative is that because we're so unique, we're also the largest, I think, content creator economy in the world today. We're the largest consumption of social media in the world. We speak so many different languages. We express in so many different things. And I think because of the smartphone penetration, which has reached to even villages under even less than 100 people,
Right.
I think because of that whole feeling of having that ability to do something with that thing in your hand, create that moment, put it up there through whichever platform, right? So it's not just the sort of platforms like the reels and the stuff that we know of today. For example, there are enough indigenous Indian companies who got Indian platforms where you put up content as well. And we've seen content creators really get up there. I think the pandemic was that, I think, big, I think, point where that really sort of is spurred as well. And I think while that's happening, we've seen also the fact that I think one is, as people, we're becoming voyeurs and we want to have a voice.
Right.
And of all sorts, you want to speak. And I think the same time, I think brands have realized the importance of being able to have influencer marketing, content marketing as part of their marketing programs.
Right.
So we see that while there is brands doing that, and we see independent creators and all of that doing as well, there was definitely a lot of areas of gray. There were problem statements, there were opportunities, and it will continue to exist as well. I think the thought really too is to be able to create some, I wouldn't say method to the madness, but I'm just saying, can we just hold hands?
Right.
Can we help the creators in some way? Can we help the marketers in some way? I think very, very early to tell, Abhay, to be honest, because it's literally been, I think, little more than 4 months only. We've taken a few baby steps, but the endeavor is really to, I think, create a space for all. I think mitigate some of the challenges which exist. There's also some of the largest platforms in our country today, whether it's Meta or Google or what have you as well. They're in fact creating some of the first unique propositions for India. So no part of the world, some of those tools and tech and products exist, but Meta is introducing that into India, and so is Google with their Google AI initiatives and multiple things. So we just feel it is only right to, in terms of timing, to have this, to be able to help pretty much all of that. And let's face it, today, I think someone who is 12 years old wants to sort of, I think, suddenly open his first Facebook account. Someone who's 87-year-old, and we hear these stories all the time. Yeah, I'm sure all of us go through this because we get requests from our grandparents to become their friends on Facebook. And we suddenly get requests from, a niece who's 10 and says, "Uncle, have you seen my latest reel?" I'm like, "Really? Okay." So it's that whole space of really, I think, everyone wanting to be part of that creation sort of process. But we just want to give it, I think, just maybe just some hand helping.
Or on that note, I would like to get into the rapid fire segment. We have a bunch of very interesting questions that I would like to ask you and get your fun answers as well. I'm hopeful that they're fun and
Well,
exciting questions.
I hope maybe I can live up to the expectations. I don't know in terms of sort of how rapid is rapid or how hot is hot the questions, but yeah, let's go for
No,
it.
I mean it's the other way around. I hope that they are fun questions for you, right? The first one, startup or corporate? Which one do you think is something more exciting at this point in time in your journey?
Startup.
Startup. Interesting. Which is your favorite ad campaign? I know you spoke about the Cadbury ad as well. The girl who ran over the pitch. Any other ad that you really are excited about?
I still remember some of the oldest ads in terms of what we sort of grew up literally in terms of Hamara Bajaj, or
Bajaj.
even this grandfather opening up the fridge and picking up some stuff and there was this bulb. So all of those are sort of cases in my mind always.
Awesome. The most used app in your daily life?
Wow, WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Okay. The best Indian Idol memory that you have?
Wow. I hope, and I hope Sonu doesn't feel bad about this one. And I still feel that clearly it was the second last episode, and it was a special episode, and we really were rooting for one or two people because we
Right.
thought they had the sort of thing to sort of win it and all that as well. And he sort of, I think, came around and I think did, I think, something to us that told us that really sort of, I think, this is really the show that you made for the people as well, right? So I think just telling us that no matter how that, some people may seem confident, and the people who are the kind of people that the channel should promote or get those TRPs or whatever as well.
Right.
It was that, I think, moment of truth when he, in fact, even, I think, fought with some of the channel heads to say, remove this footage because you can't be seen as wanting to promote someone.
Makes a lot of sense, and that's so obvious. I mean, as consumers, we find it very obvious now.
That's right.
That's right. But probably, but
Yes.
you have to.
But he
remove
really
those
sort of
biases.
he really played that, and I think it was also. I think for me it was. I think it was. I was for me it was also my first stint in being in television as well. I realized that now we often discuss it so easily, saying that this looks fixed, this looks put, but he was one of those guys who said this is what it should be.
What media icon, living or deceased, would you want to go out for dinner with?
Steve Jobs.
Fantastic, and why?
I think just the person. It's not at all the apple that he's given us in our hands and as a fruit and all that as well. I think I relate to him as a human being. If you've read his books, and I've read dime a dozen books of him written by different people, and each time I've read a book, I've just felt like had he been alive, the world would have been a different planet. The world would have been a different place. The iPhone 15 or 16 wouldn't have been the same as what it could have been. Trust me.
Yeah.
So 100%, there's just one and only Steve.
Wow. If you had an alternate career as against what you're having right now, what would that be?
A chef.
Oh, wow. Okay. Which is that one buzzword that gets exploited in more often than not meetings, boardrooms, etc., that you would put a ban on?
Digital.
Which is your favorite pop culture character? It could be a movie character, it could be a opera, it could be a comic book. Any pop culture character that you think that's very cool.
For whatever it's worth, I'm old school of thought. Mickey Mouse is, for me, still the closest to my heart.
Oh, nice. Very interesting. And why is that?
I don't know. Maybe we grew up with him, and the fact that it's the space that you get into no matter what. I think people come alive, and you enjoy, what you enjoy in a Disney park.
Right.
Or you just, that entire space. So I just feel, I think what Mickey does, no perhaps character could do, at least for me at least.
No, fantastic. Is there a book that you would recommend to all marketers for them to read that?
I think far too many, but I think what I'm liking a lot is the book called Ikigai.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I think, tells us all that age is never a thought to say we need to retire.
Right.
We should never feel that we are losers. We should never feel that after a certain age that pension will be over and what are we going to do and so many of those things. And I think especially as Indians, I think we have been conditioned as middle class family people that at some point in time you need to start building, corpus, and you need to start building, saving, all of those things. But I think if we try and perhaps just read into those thoughtful lines of Ikigai, tells you that you can have a calling even at 88.
Got
You can start something even there. That start could be perhaps creating a studio like this. It could be perhaps doing a podcast. It could be, for example, creating a new, I don't know, Indian version of an omelette where you sort of start serving that in a different fashion. So I don't know what that idea is, but it's not at all limited and it's agnostic to age.
That makes a lot of sense. Quick last two ones, right? What would be your best hobby that you like? I know you do a lot of creative things, including, you want to do alternate career would have been being a chef, right? But if you had a long, hectic week, how would you unwind? What is that one hobby that you would prioritize over everything else?
I want to travel.
Mhm.
I think I've seen a few countries, but I think even in those countries, I really want to see it all. Literally, I feel that, and it's not just countries, I just feel I want to explore and explore and explore.
Right.
Whether it is India or outside of India, I could literally sort of, if someone sort of say, can you sort of save money for something? I'll say, yes, I want to travel. Because
Makes a lot of
what
sense.
travel does to you, when it gives you to meet people, culture, so many things, no book in the world and nothing else will give you that sense of understanding what life is all about.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, sir, for giving such amazing perspectives, sharing such amazing pearls of wisdom and gyan. This is really, really very, very interesting for me as well. And I'm sure for the people who are listening into us, they found it very, very useful. Thank you so much. I wish I had a hamper that I wanted to give it to you today, but I'm going to courier one to you very soon. There's one coming in from Kapik Design, which is one of our design partners,
Lovely.
Gifting partners.
Nice.
And they do personalized stationery. So there's going to be one shipped to your home or to your office location very soon. So thank you so much for taking
I'm
your time.
absolutely delighted to sort of be here as well. I couldn't thank you enough to even listen in to me, and perhaps I'm happy to take something back from our conversation as well. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much once again. Feel free to share your perspectives through comments, subscribe to the channel, and do send us some suggestions as well. Thank you.